Hey everyone, and welcome to You Can Make This Valentine Tarot Card Edition. So first you want to get a piece of paper, fold it in half. You can use any color paper. I'm using gray paper today. And you're going to want to get out your ruler and measure out a 5 by 3.1 inch space. So you don't have to follow this rule necessarily if you have a tarot card lying around already and you want to trace around that. You're more than welcome to do so. All the things in this video are just suggestions. And I'm going to take out my scissors and cut everything out. And we'll have two beautiful pieces of paper once we're done. And this is so you have a nice thickness to the paper. You can easily just do this on one piece of paper, but I like to get that robust feeling in my paper. So we're gonna glue them together at the end of this video. And now we're gonna start out with our corner dots. Just to break the ice, I'm using a carbon graphite pencil, which is easy for smudging and shading. You can push the graphite around a little bit more than with a regular number 2 pencil. And I'm just breaking the ice right now by creating a border, and I'm gonna put a heart right there and give him a little sash. I will say I got inspiration for the back, and I'm gonna use a Micron 1 pen to kind of start doing everything. I will say that I did get inspiration for this particular piece from another YouTuber that I will link. And I'm going to create little spirals within my sash with my Micron 01 pen. And the 01 describes the thickness of the nib, I should say. So I'm just going to create these little spirals in this space in my little sash. And I'm going to be using my pencil lines as guidelines. I'm going to put little things. I will say I'm recording audio over this video because I did speed up the video quite a bit. And I'm going to create a little eye because I used the prompt, I only have eyes for you, for inspiration for this video. And now I'm going to create several dots, and these dots are going to be little guidelines where I draw little lines from end to end, going from one end point to another, like that. And it creates almost like this little flower petal effect. And I create different kinds of lines, curved, wavy, to give it that kind of natural effect. And using those dots just to help guide me as I go along. And you will notice that I am going a little bit outside of the border of my heart, which once again, the pencils are all just to help me just be like a guide, a way station, to help know where I am in the space on the paper, to help divide the paper up. And in this negative space, I'm going to add more little spirals. And you can add circles, you can color that space in black, you can add more petals. These are just suggestions for what you could do, the possibilities that you could add to your paper. And some of these little spirals are going to be way under that pencil mark, way over that pencil mark, to add that a little bit more dynamic feel to the heart, as if all these little petals and spirals are kind of a naturally formed this heart shape, almost like barnacles forming on a ship, like it's a guideline, and they grow out, but the general shape of that ship kind of remains. So as if these things have overgrown on it. And I'm going to add more spirals and color those spaces in between those spirals black, just to add a little bit of contrast with my my gray space right there. And right now what I'm doing with my petals is I'm ghosting my lines. So ghosting, not just for for being left on red. via text message. So that means drawing, like pretending like you're drawing underneath something. So it looks like the sash is overlapping these petals and containing kind of the heart and the nature that's just bursting out of it or trying to burst through it. Again, using my dots and filling in those spaces with those spirals. And again, the inspiration that I got for this particular piece, I will link in the description down below. Wonderful YouTuber. She's so inspiring. She also has an Instagram. I will link to all of her stuff. She's absolutely amazing. I love her work and love deconstructing and kind of remixing what she does. So if you ever want inspiration for more fun patterns and art, she's a person to check out. I'm adding more little spirals, more black space to help those spirals and my white lines, my thin lines really pop. And again, like I'm going over my border, so I do want, I'm going over the border of my heart and also the border that I've created around my card, because I want this heart to be really bursting through. And throughout this piece, I'm going to be creating this sense that this heart is overlapping and coming through the frame. Like it cannot be contained. Nature cannot be contained. I'm drawing little hearts in my little corners to really, really drive home that this is a Valentine. And starting off from my heart, I'm drawing this little teardrops. So using that end point as my jumping off point, and I'm going to continue creating these alternating teardrop shapes with a line and a dot to make them look like leaves, just little leaves. You know, the heart of drawing is really just finding shorthand ways to create symbols for things. You know, a teardrop shape and a line and a dot, you know, our brain registers that as something from nature, a leaf. And in between those negative spaces, again, I'm creating little circles. You can, again, fill it in with black, fill it in with a different color. Maybe you want to make it really pop. And you'll see later on, I do create a sense of kind of poppy color with a little bit of red pen. And just a little bit of color can really accent things. Just using one color. And alternating leaves. Just continuing that down my frame. Because tarot cards are all about creating that sense of repetition. Especially on the back of your card. Mine is definitely a little bit more fancy. I think than most other card backs that I've seen. Again, just kind of filling in that negative space in between the leaves with those circles. And right now what I'm doing is I'm redrawing over the edge. So I'm just following the natural curves over the edge of my heart to kind of reaffirm that this is a really prominent part of the piece. Redrawing and darkening those outside lines really helps to make it more pronounced, and also adds a bit of shade. So as you'll notice that after I've redrawn over all these exterior parts and drawn an outline across it, this new form and shape, it really makes the heart pop from the rest of the piece, really gives it that sense that, yeah, it's standing out above this border, it is coming off the page, it's a little bit of it creates a sense of depth with the piece. So line weight really does help create a new sense of dynamism. And as you see, I'm bringing out my red pen, and I'm just drawing in little accent pieces, just in those little pockets of negative space, putting in a little flecks of red to really make it pop. It doesn't take a lot. I'm just drawing in and filling in those little teeny tiny spaces. But it really does create a new layer, a new level to the piece. But if you want to go all out with your colors, that's another thing to consider. So now I'm done with this, and I'm going to start on my interior. And again, I'm starting with my corner dots just to act as my guide, and I'm going to leave a little extra space at the bottom so I can start writing in, I only have eyes for you. And I'm drawing this all out in pencil just to help me see how all the words will lay out in the end. And I actually think I got it. I got it this time. And I'm drawing a little center line to help guide me and sketch out where everything is going to lay out, how it's going to lay out. Is it going to all fit the way I want it to? Correctly. And as you may have noticed, I don't go overboard with sketching with my pencil. I'm going to switch over to my pen now. I don't go overboard with sketching out with my pencil because I'm creating relatively simple shapes and simple layouts. And then I'm, playing with my pen and adding little extra things as I go along. I'm adding little eyelashes. So these are going to be eyes. And it's going to be a tier of eyes. So a closed eye, an eye opening, and an eye very, very widely staring. It's to me, it's supposed to symbolize really seeing a person for the first time. When you've kind of walked around the earth and you feel like you haven't been seen or seen anyone that really captivates you. And then this is kind of the first time you feel like you've been awoken. This person has awoken you and you've awoken them, and you're seeing each other. You're seeing someone that really, really captivates you for the first time. So this is my way of kind of symbolizing that moment. And kind of that's what inspired me by that prompt. That's what I thought of when I thought of I only have eyes for you, seeing somebody for the first time. And I'm going to try and make this piece a little mystical. So I'm just drawing out these little pieces that I think might work. And this person that I'm making for loves octopuses. So I'm kind of drawing a little bit of a tentacle-y creature, and I'm using these little U shapes to help with this tentacle part. So it may look like I'm drawing this really spiky, weirdly aggressive thing, but trust me, by the end it will soften up quite a bit. But it just goes to show you how you can create just little simple shapes and build upon those simple shapes into complex forms. Just one by one, just adding little accents. And again, I'm that tentacle is going to be behind all my eyes, so I did ghost my lines and drew behind them. I'm just filling in space with black as I go. And now I'm going to be putting little dots to, as I guess like the little suckers. I'm just putting little teeny tiny dots and coloring in, and I only have eyes for you part. And awesome. Now I'm just gonna erase my border because I'm not gonna put anything special in my border section. I like the idea of just leaving the card simple and focusing on the piece. And now I'm gonna get into the best part, shading. So I'm getting out my white charcoal pencil and my graphite pencil again, and I'm creating a sense of depth within my piece by giving it a sense of, so I'm shading in those center pieces where all those little petals converge. I'm shading in my sash a little bit. I'm shading underneath my sash to really drive home that the sash is sitting on top of the piece. And right now I'm using a Tortillon to smudge out all these little things to soften kind of where I laid down my graphite. And where all those little petals are converging, any center point where I see a lot of those things converging, I'm making sure to smudge and create that sense of shadow. Putting a little shadow in my eye, making my eye pop out from the piece a little bit because it's sitting over top of the flowers. And also making my heart pop just a little bit more by shading underneath it just a little bit. And now I'm creating my highlights. So I am working with gray paper, which is so great because everything is a neutral background. And I also decided to add a little bit more of a red accent piece by drawing just little lines, little horizontal diagonal lines on like one petal of each flower. But I do love using gray paper because you can use gray, you can use black, and you can use kind of this in between and white to make everything pop. So you can have your lowlights, your darks, and your highlights. And your whites really pop. So right now I'm taking my white charcoal pencil and really making what I would imagine where the light would hit most on my little petals really pop, really make them magic, and give my little eyeball a little highlight as well. And just little accents to make the entire piece just have that little extra life and flavor. Now I'm going to take my little gel pen and just add little teeny tiny highlights to my little flowers. And little teeny tiny highlight to my hearts. Now I get to do I'm going to go straight in with the gel pen right here and white in this area. Just creating a little bit of give it a cosmic feel. Create little highlight layers too, where it might reflect off the top, I guess. But I'm also highlighting the lid where of the eye and the tops. I'm gonna darken in little spots where the eye wrinkles and where the lid shadows over top of it. And I'm gonna also shadow my little tentacle as well, give it a little shadow. And start blending in all those spaces where I laid down some graphite to give everything just a little extra dimension to it. Make it feel a little less 2D, a little bit more like it's popping off the page. I'm gonna come in with my white charcoal pencil, just add a little bit of highlight to my tentacle, a little bit of highlights to my eyes and my eyelids. Just give it a little extra something something. And now I'm gonna create take my jelly roll Just draw over some of those lines, make them pop a little bit more, and also draw my little cosmic background. So I wanted to draw like little stars just to give it a little bit more magic to it, that magic moment when you're first seeing someone. And I love tarot cards because they're just so, whether you believe in their power or not, I think tarot cards, like, when you first see them, they just have this magic energy to them, which allows your mind to wander, and you imbue them with a sense of power. Whether that be like imagination, because you wonder what they mean. And now I'm taking my Mod Podge, sorry. And I'm using that as my glue. So Mod Podge is really great as a glue. And I'm using a brush to make sure I get really nice, even glue marks. I don't want anything to wrinkle too much. I'm gonna just stick them together really carefully. And while it dries, I'm putting a book over top so it doesn't bow or wrinkle while it's drying, so it dries nice and evenly. But Mod Podge is really great, not just as a glue, but also as to create a laminate feel over your card. So it gives it a little bit more sense of permanence. And I'm just waiting for it to harden, because if I put another coat of Mod Podge like over top to start layering it, it's going to be a little too wet and it's going to start to wrinkle. So I just wait, and I'm touching it to feel it to make sure that it's hardened enough, because I want to make sure that it feels really stiff before I pick it up and coat it. Start coating the exterior. All right. Okay, it's all done, and now I can coat my exterior with Mod Podge. And I want to make sure I get a nice even coat. I'm not trying to gloop it on too much. And it's a little more difficult to make sure that it's nice and flat. So I like to try and bend it out until it's kind of dry enough to put a book on top of it. Now I'm going to coat the other side. Nice and even, nice and light coat. You don't need a lot. It does take a little bit, not too long. I would say like 5 to 10 minutes to dry, depending on the thickness. And again, you can't quite put a book on it, so I usually just put some glue on the edge. And here is the glowing, shiny, finished product. And that's how you make a Valentine tarot card. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you get to make your own mystical, magical tarot card for your special someone on this very special day. And until next time, see ya.